Hello, welcome once again to Time Between Times storytelling. Time for a story, time for a tale. Outside the wind is whirring on the greyest, grimiest day of the year so far. But we know we are safe here at the Time Between Times. A time for a tale. So, forget about your cares, forget about your worries. Sit back and enjoy a tale at the Time Between Times. It's still a dark time out there. But as I record this, it is the 14th of February, St. Valentine's Day, a time of lovers. So I can do no more than record a love story, an old love story for you today. From an age gone by, from a place called Llyn. But before we begin, sit back, relax, forget about your cares, forget about your worries, and think about the time between times. The time when it is neither night nor day, but the sun is gone and the sky is grey. A time when the veil between our world and the fairy world grows wafer thin. That is the time of stories. A time when people see ghosts. A time when people see lights in the sky. And a time of stories. So forget about all your cares, relax your mind, sit back and wait in the time between times. Today, I'm going to take you to a place called Llyn, a lake in North Wales, not far from Betws-y-Coed, where something magical happened there hundreds of years ago. Up until about 200 years ago, there in the middle of the lake, there was an island that on a bright sunny day you could swim out to. It's no longer there, and today I will tell you why. But many hundreds of years ago, something magical happened right there. So, sit back. You know you are safe here. Far away we can hear the howl of wolves and the growl of bears, but we know we are safe at the time between times. So imagine, hundreds of years ago, as a young farming lad rode his horse past Llyn and saw someone bathing in its waters, someone who would change his life forever, the most beautiful maid he had ever seen. The sun shone bright in the sky. The day was as clear as the dawn, and there in the crystal clear waters of Llyn stood the most beautiful maid he had ever seen, her long hair, blonde hair, flowing to her waist. She bathed in the waters. The young lad jumped off his horse and approached her, smitten straight away, and called to her, "Please, please, may I speak to you?" But the maiden turned around and vanished beneath the waters. The following day he returned, hoping to see her once more, and there she was, again bathing in the water. Again he got off his horse and approached her, and again she disappeared beneath the waters. The third day the same. But on the third day she blew him a kiss, waved, and vanished beneath the waters. The next day he returned, hoping once again to see her. As he arrived at the waters, of the beautiful maiden there was no sign. But he could see two figures just at the end of the thick forest that went to the banks of the lake. And there she was. He rushed and approached her once more and asked her, "Will you marry me? For you are the fairest thing that walks beneath this fair sun." She went to open her mouth, but behind her in the shadows, a shadow's shadow if you like, there stood another figure. And that figure spoke first. "You may marry my daughter, for I see that you are filled with love," said the sinister figure. "But know this, that if she is ever touched by iron, she will return and live with us, the fairy folk, in the realm of Anon." "I will never let her be touched by iron," said the boy, "and please let her marry me." The figure then passed a bag full of gold coins to the young farmer boy. "This is her dowry. Look after her." The young farmer boy was amazed, and looked after her he did. Their wedding was the greatest anyone in the area had ever seen, and there was the greatest party anyone had ever seen. Years passed, and she gave birth to the most beautiful children the area had ever seen. They had never been so happy, but always he worried that if she was touched by iron, she would return. So he took all the iron out of the house. He even removed the iron from her saddle when she rode on a horse and when they went into town to the market. But she was safe. But one day, one winter's day, when the ice was thick and the snow was thicker, they went into the market to buy bread. And on their return, the fairy maid's horse slipped on the path and tumbled down the bank into a lake, which was frozen. It crashed through the ice, and the maiden fell into the water. Terrified, the young man jumped off his horse and managed to pull her free of the ice before it cracked and filled once more. The horse was not, sadly, so lucky. He placed a blanket around his wife and held her tight to him and said, "This is a dark day. We must return home quickly before you freeze. Your horse is lost. Jump on the back of my horse. We will ride back together." As he started to ride, his wife sat on a horse behind him and placed her feet in his stirrups, his iron stirrups. He did not realize at first what had happened. And as he started to ride back, his eyes were drawn on either side of the path, for amongst the ice and snow, he saw the fairy folk starting to gather. First just a glimmer of a face, then the sound of a voice on the wind. And then finally, as he rode in sight of their farmhouse, he turned around and noticed there was nobody sitting behind him. His wife had vanished. Broken-hearted, he returned to the farm and told his children what had happened. Every day he would return back to the lake and place flowers in the water, hoping that his wife would return to him. For many years he did this till his children had grown and left home. But one day, he returned to that lake. And now in the middle of it, although it was crystal like a mirror, there was a small island. Sat on the island was his wife, the fairy maiden, looking as radiant and beautiful as ever. The young man swam out to the island, climbed ashore, and there they sat there under the sun until it became the stars, as in love as they ever were. And this happened for years after years after years, until eventually she died in her arms, an old man, although she had not aged a day. It is said on that day that the island drifted to the shore of the lake, and the old man's body was laid there before it drifted back out and disappeared under the waters forever. And that, my friends, on this Valentine's Day, is the nice but sad tale of the fairy marriage. I hope you enjoyed it. So, I will catch you again next Sunday at the time between times. Please, if you like the video, please like, please subscribe, please leave me a comment. It makes me so happy when I hear of all the people who are enjoying the stories, especially people all over the world who are getting in touch with me as I sit here talking to myself in a chair on the greyest, darkest day I can recall. Take care, everyone. I hope you all stay safe. I hope you all stay happy. And I hope that you will join me once more at the time between times. Diolch yn fawr. Hwyl fawr.